Good morning, everybody. Welcome to
Morning.
not end those saboteurs, but yes, reduce those saboteurs and heading towards reducing the emotional impact and keeping your weight healthy. I'm Dr. Brian, and I'm here with my dynamic host, the fantastic
Lisa Marie. Hi,
Lisa
everyone.
Marie. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. We can see your comments on here. We're trying something different. We're not live on all three platforms. We're live on StreamYard. So, we'll be able to see your comments and respond periodically. If you do have questions, you can post a comment. We'd love to respond to those. And we want to remind you we'll be live the next few Saturdays, the 21st and the 28th. But we really want you to mark it in your calendar now. Saturday, November 4th, we are going to do a 90-minute workshop, 8:30 Pacific time. We will be probably streaming on all three platforms at that time. And we will take you step by step by step, 7 ways to reduce emotional saboteurs and really help you set up a system where you will be your best by the end of 2023, ready to not set goals for 2024. We don't want you to set goals in 2024. We want you to accomplish them. And by going through the program we're going to show you, and we're going to have an incredible offer, I will tell you right now, we're going to discount it for those of you that register for it 50%. So it's a little bit of a high price point, and we will be discounting that for you 50% to, one, really get you prepared for 2023, two, experience what Lisa and I have gone through this whole year in
Right.
terms of providing a program that helps you reduce overeating,
Mm-hmm.
lower that stress, but increase your happiness, your relationships at work, and just overall be better, which we call mental fitness, which is getting yourself to
Right.
peak performance. So, talking about those saboteurs, Lisa, I bet we're all ready to talk about the pleaser and the stickler. And so, what we really
Right.
want to help you both, us both want to help all of you online and in this little webinar this morning is how to reduce the impact of the pleaser and the stickler. And I
Right.
know when I started my mental fitness training, my score was 9 out of 10 on the pleaser and 9 out of 10 on the stickler. So, two saboteurs that really come together well to impact your overall well-being, performance, but mostly we're going to talk about what it does with weight loss. And I think I've done another monologue. So, Lisa, you take over. What would you like?
Well, I just because you said about the score, I thought it was very interesting when I originally started the course. My pleaser was a score of 9 out of 10, and my stickler was a 6. However, just yesterday or the day before, I retook the test, and my pleaser is down to a 5, and my stickler is kind of up, but at a 6 as well. It stayed kind of the same, and it's not that you get rid of them completely, but when we build an awareness of the positive traits and the gifts and the opportunities that these saboteurs can give us, that's where our whole shifts, our mindset shifts, and that's what we want to help you with. So we thought we would focus on two of them today and kind of give you a little example of, I'm sure you already know how those bullies work in your head, but we thought it would be fun to kind of share that with you too. And it does seem that Bill, Brian, we see each other on the screen, but I guess when we talk is when the group sees us. They don't see us both at the same time
Yes,
from
it's
what I'm
popping in
seeing,
and
but
out. Let me
we're
see if
good.
we Well, let me see if I can change that in settings. So,
They work that out later too. By November 4th, we will have this nice and perfected
well, I'm going to say we'll have it even better by
next
next
week,
week.
right?
So, let me just go to settings. But meanwhile, while I'm working on that end,
Oh,
let's
Trish
talk.
says yes, we do. Okay, so we see you both. Yay! Thank you.
You
Kenneth,
are not in control of your webcam. The stickler and hypervigilant are. Or
right?
those of you old enough to remember, do not pay attention to your screen. The outer limits are here.
That's dating us.
So
Don't do
all
that.
we need is Rod Serling back for the Twilight Zone. Okay.
Right.
So I'm in a different location that some of you might notice from previous videos and webcams. I'm with my family out in Henderson, Nevada, and perfect for the pleaser is what happens when you're sort of the outlier coming into a new family system. We give in to let others flow. And while I'm happy to do that this weekend, it's not a problem. We're already planning for the holidays, and I'm trying not to, one, be the stickler, but two, not let the pleaser. And here's what happens with the pleaser: I give in, let other people roll, and it doesn't bother you the first few times you do it. It's the 10th time. And with the holidays coming up, and family and friends and events and end of school, if you have kids, it's all this planning. And if you don't want to ruffle feathers, we keep giving in as the pleaser. And that frustration level inches up, 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 up,
Whoops.
up. And then what happens? We have trouble with expressing our needs and not exploding at others. But the pleaser is secretive. What the pleaser does is you start throwing little verbal snipes at people before you lose it. So that anger and frustration come out in all sorts of ways sideways. The secret of the pleaser, though, is that you may not be understanding why you're frustrated with all these different events or family interactions or work interactions because you're putting your needs last. You're not putting yourself on equal footing or first. And so that's what really gets in the way. And the pleaser saboteur sticks and it happens consistently. So if any of you notice how you give in frequently and your frustration level, and I see some people are putting in pleaser 7.5, controller around 6.5, that's a good match because we're going to talk about the stickler and how that helps with the controller because it's a perfect match. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Anything you want to add with the pleaser, Lisa?
Gosh, I think for any of us that have had the inkling to stuff our emotions, that's probably one of the main traits of the pleaser because over time, it's like Brian said, over time, when we don't voice our opinion, we don't put ourselves in the equation, what is our other outlet? And it's usually stuffing the emotions and stuffing them with food or just overeating, period, to oddly enough get back at them and have your way when it doesn't affect anybody else. It only affects us. And I think that that frustration just kind of has an endless circle. But that's why we want to teach you and show you how to be aware of this particular saboteur when it comes into your circumstances or your situations, because there's a way to name it and kind of even laugh at them. Instead of being afraid, we need not be afraid of these saboteurs. They really are in our body, in our head. They're here to help us grow and help us see that there are, like I said, opportunities to change these challenges and these maybe these negative perceptions into an actual positive way. So we have a great tip, an exercise, so to speak. I don't know, we want to maybe review. Last week, we gave a point that when you start to feel a saboteur rule you or overcome you, there's something called a PQ, so a positive intelligence rep, a thing that you can do that's similar to what do you call that? Meditation. It's similar to meditation, but you don't have to go somewhere private. You don't have to block out 30 minutes. You don't have to get into a cute outfit. You don't have to, tune everything out. Instead, you just rub your forefinger and your thumb together. And what you're doing is you're changing that frequency, that thought pattern of where you are in your brain to focus on something else. And if you're like me, I don't really feel the ridges on my fingers. So, kind of the stickler came in and thought, well, what is wrong with you? Why can't you feel these different things? But I can feel the difference when I do all of my fingers. And whatever it is, 30 seconds. Work your way up to a minute, 3 times a day. And for those of you who were here last week, how many of you tried that? How many of you tried 3 times a day, your 1 to 2 minutes of doing a finger? We can't see you, but if you put it in the chat that you tried it, and were you amazed at how many times you found yourself going, oh, I think I need to do that right now? I was. So I just wanted to recap that so that if that's one of the tools that we want to give you, and we'll expand that in the actual course on November 4th, and then of course in the big course next year. But this is a tool that you can do anytime, anywhere, around anybody, under the table, with your arms crossed, out in the open, doesn't matter. No one will even pay attention. No one will even notice that you're doing it. But it's for you and your mental stability in order to do that.
Right.
Go for it,
And
Mr. Brown.
while you're feeling your fingertips, one quick tip is, how can I change how I'm feeling? If you just ask yourself that, your brain will start giving you a different answer than giving in as the pleaser. And the other question to ask is what I'm doing now serving me well? Is what I'm doing now serving me well? And while you're feeling your fingertips, sensing your body, you'll all of a sudden start to recenter when you do this 3 or 4 times a day. And Lisa, you cued my memory. So here's what happens in real life, right? Because it happens like this, right? It starts to build and then our brain pops or our emotions pop and we get frustrated. So with pleasure, what starts to happen is we give in. We don't want to cause a kerfuffle or start a conflict because that is false thinking. You standing up for yourself isn't going to cause that. You don't have to give in. You can say, well, instead of that, I wonder if we have this. So here's what's happening. For those of you that are starting a weight loss journey, for those of you that have had weight loss surgery, you're already starting to think how you want to have meals differently. And the first issue that comes up is, am I having a meal for myself and then having to cook for 5 others, 10 others, 11 others, 4 others? Or do they have to have my plan? And so what happens is we'll give in, and this time around, we'll just eat regular food, or we'll have that extra dessert, or we'll have that extra whatever. And with the pleaser, what happens is that's when we start sneaking food. It's like, I'm going to do this for me to please me. So I'll have that extra meal, that extra snack, that extra sugar. And instead, we're going to focus this morning on how comfortable are you to say, hey, wait a minute, I would like this. And a great way to not have, I'll say, an argument or to raise the conflict level, I statements. I wonder if, I'd like to know, could we do it this way? So open-ended questions or I statements really go a long way to communicating and sticking up for yourself. So just take a breath, and you'll notice how it will be a little bit anxiety provoking, because if your pleaser score is high, this is a shift.
Yeah.
So you just need to take that first little step. So I encourage everybody today, let's take that first little step together. I want you to ask the people closest to you something different that serves your needs directly, and see how it goes. And we'll give you our email in the chat, so you can email Lisa or I and let us know what you think. And we'll be creating a Facebook and LinkedIn group that you can pop in and share comments on. That's coming next week. So really just think today, how can I take a step up for myself, stand up for myself on one of the smallest issues?
Mm-hmm.
Just try that. And I'll give you an example this morning. So my wife's going to middle school orientation for my grandkids. My stepdaughter and son-in-law are coaching soccer. So everybody ran out of the house, and my wife cooked breakfast this morning. And I said last night, I wonder if you can just make me some scrambled eggs and cheese with no bread instead of putting it on a sandwich. And her initial instinct is, well, when you're cooking for 6 other people, it's hard to customize. I said, I understand. Make the sandwiches for the family. I'll have plenty of time to cook something for myself, or I'll make a shake. Got up after setting up everything this morning, and my wife had a plate of scrambled eggs and cheese for me. So that initial pushback that you're going to get is not what may end up being the conclusion to things. You'll get that pushback because it's an autoresponder. It's
Yeah.
I can't do that. Well, she did it, and we had a great breakfast, sat with everybody. It went really well. Just by making a I statement, I wonder if you can.
Yep.
It's not a must, it's not a have to. You're not raising the dilemma. And this is going to magnify as we get closer to the holidays.
Yes.
Even if you're not having a bunch of people over, when you go to friend's house or the dreaded corporate holiday party, it's tension, it's lowering your ability to stand up for yourself. And when you don't put yourself first and you feel trampled on or stepped over continuously, that's when frustration, anger, poor communication pop out.
Exactly.
Now, as I have found with Lisa, let's jump to the stickler, because my webcam isn't exactly perfect. And we didn't set the table this morning the way everybody likes it. And the tablecloth was off. And I had the unfortunate problem of I left a little protein packet out instead of throwing it in the trash can immediately. The stickler. It has to be this way. It has to be perfect. And when you combine a high score of pleaser and stickler, it's no wonder that you may be feeling ill at ease, frustrated. And I'm going to let Lisa talk because I notice I'm on another monologue.
It's okay. I,
You're not saying it right. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I disagreed with this one at first, thinking there's no way, right? I totally disagreed with this particular saboteur at first because I thought, no, just same with the controller. I never really pictured that of myself. However, when you start looking around at the things that you want to accomplish or the tasks at hand, if you start to look at something and you walk in the room and oh my gosh, that's not right, the table's not right, the settings, oh my, who did that, they didn't do this right, and you readjust everything, or I can't believe they didn't hang the towels here in the bathroom like I asked them to, or if you find yourself where your anxiety about a situation and you start losing your patience, even if it's just in your head, usually outward, but sometimes it's just in our head. We're saying these things in our head and they're not coming out of our mouth, but you still are having this super anxious moment of it. Again, this is going to lead to possibly sneaking food and or overeating food, especially if you're saying it in your head of, oh my gosh, I can't believe they put the forks on the left and not the right. This isn't right. They're not supposed to be doing it. You're supposed to put it over here. It it's not that you're trying to really control the situation, because you aren't stepping in and changing it for everybody else or making them change it, but you're having that dialogue in your head that it just can't be, it's just not right enough. It's just not enough. That's probably the better phrase. And unfortunately, the stickler is one of those things that can serve us well, because we do want things to be perfect, so to speak, but we have to realize that we can't. Really, somewhere, someone, in some way, nothing can be perfect. It can look and appear seamless, but it won't necessarily be perfect. Oh my gosh, that's what happened to me this morning. My computer had a mind of its own and it went crazy on me. So the when you feel that perfectionism jumping in and coming up, again, if you can just take that breath, rub your fingers together and say, is this serving me? Is because it's those thoughts that are going on, or even outward the vocabulary that you're using, the language. Is this really serving me? Is this serving others? And it's amazing how many times that might come out, forewarning, but these are things that we're going to actually give you coming up, not today, but coming up, like a blueprint of how to change those habits, how to change those automatic responses. We want our automatic response to be something helpful and healthful for us and our journey, which I think I've shared this with Brian. I will share it with y'all as well. I don't believe in setting New Year's resolutions. And the reason I don't is because 9 times out of 10, when I've done it, I've kind of set myself up for failure. And I don't like that feeling because the stickler in me wants to actually be regimented and figure it all out and do it. What I do instead is I just change a couple of habits. And that's what we're trying to help you with, to show you that these things are creating habits that will stick and not just be a resolution that will end and be ignored and be on the woulda, coulda, shoulda list. No, we want it to be a long-term, sustainable, healthy habit for all of us. And there you go,
And
Mr.
when,
Brian.
thanks. And when here's, we've all been through this. We try to make a change and we revert back to our norm. And
Exactly.
so with mental fitness, we're going to rewire your thinking and feeling in simple ways 5 times a day. Let's go back to the stickler and the pleaser for a moment, because there's two things that collide at the same time. So with the pleaser, I get frustrated when I give in over and over. And over time, I'll overeat to cover my frustrations. With the stickler, not only if you're combining it, but the stickler by itself, you lose patience with others when it's not done to your standards. So if we overlay that with the pleaser, you're not standing up for yourself, you're not speaking up for yourself, and you want things to be a certain way. It's a perfect storm. And for those of us who want to keep the weight off or lose weight without going to the newest diet, the newest plan, the newest that, and then we start and stop, this cycle of frustration builds. The anxiety starts to build. And what happens is you realize day to day, week to week, you're not satisfied. You're not happy because the stickler really eats away. It's not done to you. Like it better than this. Why aren't people meeting my standards? Why are they rejecting me? Why aren't they following through? Why can't they do this thing simply? And then you end up doing it yourself. I'll give you a common example is we had our dishwasher break. So I said, let's just load it, rinse the dishes, put them in the dishwasher to dry instead of leaving them out. And every night when I was coming home, the dishes would be in the sink all piled up, not even rinsed. And so you say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to let somebody else do it. I'm not going to be the maid 7 nights a week. And then you end up doing the dishes. And how do you take out your frustration? You'll subconsciously not follow through on something with your spouse or best friend, or not follow through on something else, or you'll withhold something. And it's not conscious. It just raises the conflict level and unhappiness level and frustration level with everyone around until you eventually just explode or yell, or, as I used to do, overeat. I was a master overeater, a master snacker. And so food becomes our way out. Food becomes the way that we cope with those frustrations rather than communication, exercise, or just rewiring with mental fitness. And so the stickler, particularly, is the one that eats away faster because you can immediately feel that frustration when someone's not doing it your way because it feels personal. With the pleaser, it's a slow, steady buildup. And you combine, that's why Lisa and I picked these two this morning to go over with you. You combine those with day to day family interactions, friends interactions, employee interactions, and it's just amazing. And here's what happens is you feel it. It's like you wake up in the morning and dread happens instead of waking up feeling I'm looking forward to something or I'm excited by this. And so it really comes together in a perfect storm. And by using mental fitness, you're going to reduce these stressors. So again, today I challenge all of you watching today. If you're the pleaser, if that's the strongest one, I'd like you to stand up for yourself. Just make an I statement. How can I do this? How can I speak up for myself? I wonder if you would. Would it be okay if? Can we consider this? What would happen if? And when you offer those suggestions, the first couple of times people won't notice. You'll feel that you're standing up for yourself, but you'll notice over time people will begin coming around your way, or even better, we'll have a discussion. And that's how real life becomes fun and interesting. Anything you'd like to add, Lisa?
So I put in the chat the kind of the thought pattern that comes out of the stickler, because I think it just kind of hones it in and shows a little bit more of the characteristic of when that saboteur is pouncing in on our moment or circumstance. And I'm getting ready to put in the pleasers thoughts. We've really gone through most of them, but just so you can kind of see it in print, if you want to take a screenshot of it or copy it and put it in your own notes or something like that, you can. I'm really, really encouraged. And the thing that we really want to work on is giving you these practical strategies to help build kind of resilience. And that's where we're going with this. That's how we want to help. That's what we want to develop and give you the tools to do this, because I've experienced it myself, as has Brian. And some of it our family notices, some of it they don't, and that's okay. Whereas the old me would have been, why don't they see this? Maybe I should point it out. I point things out because my husband and I have had an agreement a long time ago that if you do something and the other person doesn't notice, kind of make the hint. If they still don't get it, then don't take it personal and be offended that they didn't notice. Just say, hey, did you notice that I cut my hair and did whatever it is. I hung up curtains to block the sun in the late afternoon. It's so much more helpful, and it brings the stress level so much lower because it's working together. And I do it in the workplace as well. If somebody doesn't notice something, I didn't used to, didn't used to do this at all. But now I'll be like, oh, hey, I can toot my own horn. And I spill it. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. And thank you. We all just get super focused and busy that we sometimes don't take that moment to recognize it in others. And I think we want you to recognize it in yourself. And that's why we're doing this. So, yay. What is another tip? We were thinking of giving them, we're running out of time. I don't want to go too much further, but we thought of giving you another tip besides just rubbing your fingers together when a moment comes. Do you remember what it was,
Here it
Brian?
comes. Are you guys
Okay.
ready? I'm going to demonstrate it for you right now. It is really easy to ignore. It's a little difficult to implement at first. Here we go. I'm going to do it for you right now. I need everybody to watch. This is going to be powerful and hard to notice. I just did it. Take a breath. Take a breath. Now, not just a little breath. I want you to breathe in through your nose, hold it, and out your mouth. So Lisa says something that is my stickler disagrees with. Before I react, I can rub my fingertips and I just take a breath. But when you take a breath up your nose, hold it, and breathe out your mouth. Now, you don't have to do this if you're in a group. You can just breathe in quietly. You reset. Your whole brain resets. And the first question you ask is, how do I want to ask about this? Or what's the best thing for me to do in this moment? What's the best thing to do in this moment? So take a breath, ask a question to yourself, and you will be thrilled with how often you come up with a different response, answer, solution to an issue right in the moment. Because your subconscious right now remember last week, the overriding saboteur, the judge, is going to say that won't work. Oh, Brian's just talking about stupid mindfulness. I've heard this over and over. Lisa and I know, and I'm telling you from years of experience, implementing this, when you just think about it, it doesn't. So take a breath in a tough moment, in an anxious moment, in a frustrating moment. Take a breath. And guess what else? In a happy moment, in a fun moment, take a breath, because those saboteurs are there and crazy making, because the saboteurs interrupt a happy moment. Oh, this won't last. Oh, you're having fun now, but they didn't do it to your standards. Oh, you just gave in and you're agreeing to have fun. So it's really, really important. And I notice, wow, Michelle, cool. 10 out of 10 on pleaser and controller. Pretty impressive. So we're gonna love working with you on reducing those impacts. So, but you got a perfect score, so it doesn't get better than that.
Oh,
So,
she said, by the way, this was Leslie. So she
oh,
must be
Leslie, okay,
with
cool,
Michelle, but
no problem.
yeah.
So, um, really cool. So we will want to keep you. We know it's later on the East Coast. So this will be on recording. I will post this later today for everybody in our Facebook group and on YouTube. And so what I'd like to do now is just remind you, we'll be live 8:30 next week. And I need you all to take a breath, because this one is going to blow you away. Next week, Lisa and I are going to tackle the ones that really sabotage us.
Yeah.
The victim and being restless, constantly in search of greater excitement, and the victim of when that excitement doesn't turn out the way we want. And why is it always landing on me? Why does stuff always fall down this way? How do we make that shift? Stay tuned next week. Restless and the victim will be here. Then on the 28th, we'll do 2 more. And then we welcome everybody November 4th. Details on how to really implement this, and I offer 50% off to take you through the end of the year so that you start 2024 already blasting off. You're going to be ahead of your friends, family, peers, and really take off. So everybody have a great week. Anything you want to add, Lisa?
No, I really appreciate you all showing up for you. This half hour, 40 minutes was taking the time out to do something for you. And I really want you to pat yourself on the back for that. Give yourself a kudos, a high five, whatever. It was something good for you. And that's amazing that you showed up to do that for you. I can't wait to hear about your journey and how this week is putting into practice the finger rubbing or fingers, as I do, and the deep breath in the moment of something coming up. And again, please, please, please don't let the saboteurs tell you that you do this too many times. you are you are a 10, so you're a lost cause. No, don't believe that. Don't believe the judge. Don't believe his tag-alongs or her tag-alongs, because you can have a mind shift and it will make such a big difference. The more you recognize it, the more you call it out and say, oh, there you go, pleaser. Oh, there you go, stickler. Not this time. Let's see. How can I do this? The more you call it out, actually, that's a plus. The person who has that a lot more at the beginning will build that muscle inside, that strength inside, that positive intelligence, that emotional intelligence. You'll build that up. That tool will get so strong that you'll just be able to call it off in a moment's notice. So actually, those of you that have it happen a lot, that's a really good thing that you're going to get to practice a whole lot this week. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and we will post about next week. I'll probably do it tomorrow or Monday, and then we will also check what y'all say and your scores so that we can help guide through those saboteurs.
All right,
And
everybody, have a great Saturday. And as Lisa said, if all you do is take a breath, feel the ridges on your fingers, and one more thing, just jot down, text yourself notes. If you're not able to shut the stickler or the pleaser off, just notice when it's happening. That's the first big step, and you'll be better off. So have a great week. We'll see you next Saturday. And I'm going to say it because mental fitness is a Jedi trick. The Force will be with all of you always. Have a great
yes,
week, everybody.
bye.